Joining me now, California Congressman Khanna, a Democratic member of the House Armed Services, Agriculture, and Oversight Committees. Congressman, before I even get to what you want to hear from the president today, that was a pretty stunning report from NBC News about the sense of tragedy, really, underway right now at the Kabul airport.
Alex, there's no doubt that there have been heartbreaking stories. But if we take a step back, President Biden made the right decision to end a 20-year war and withdraw. He's been right that we should have, frankly, withdrawn a long time ago. The administration, with our troops, have evacuated 30,000 people without a single American casualty. Now, my heart breaks with some of the stories. I read recently about Zaki Anwari, a 17-year-old soccer player who was clinging to the American plane and died as he was evacuating. Obviously, we have to stay there until every American is out, and we have to try to get as many vulnerable Afghanis out. And I know that the administration is committed to doing that.
I know that there's a lot of finger pointing, a lot of blame, but where is the area that you think needs the most improvement? What can be done? Instead of looking backwards right now and saying this was a mess, how do we do better going forward?
I appreciate that, Alex, because I think as Americans, why don't we come together? There'll be plenty of time to figure out what went wrong. Let's come together on what we can do now. And that means making sure that we are there, even if we have to extend our time from the August 31st deadline until all Americans who want to leave can leave. We have an obligation to get all of the Americans out. Second, we need to expedite the processing of visas. I am in a district that has 25,000 Afghani Americans. We've been inundated with requests. We're sending them to the State Department. We still need to cut through some of that red tape so that interpreters and our allies are able to come here, and we're resettling them here. Look, I'll tell you, the Afghani community in my district is a huge asset. And for any American to imply that we shouldn't be taking Afghani refugees is just ignorant. They will enrich our country, and we have a moral obligation to have them here after being there for 20 years.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you about one specific incident relative to your office in just a moment, but let me ask about what you want to hear from the president at 4 o'clock. Do you think the president ought to be prepared? Will they be prepared to say this is going to go past August 31st?
I do believe that the president is prepared to do that. The president has said that every American who wants to leave, we will assist them to leave. And what I want to hear is, what are our plans first to deal with the ISIS threat? Jake Sullivan accurately has said that that is a very serious threat. We need to make sure that whatever American troops and force is required to protect against that threat is there. So I hope the president will outline that strategy. And then I think the president needs to reassure the American people that we will not rest until every American who wants to be evacuated is evacuated, and that we will be making sure that our allies, the interpreters and other allies, are able to evacuate to the best that we can. And the president also, I think, is forthright. He said, look, these are risky missions. Withdrawals are never easy. And I think he has been honest with the American people, and I hope he will continue to be honest.
Let me ask you specifically about your office, which was contacted last week trying to get help evacuating a family member of one of your constituents there from Afghanistan. And part of that story includes them being beaten by the Taliban. Tell us what happened.
Well, the Sultani family, I'm very, very grateful. They're expected to arrive in our district tomorrow. Our district staff did an exceptional job with the State Department to get them onto the airplane, but they were beaten getting to the airport, and they sent us pictures about being beaten. So there is no sugarcoating the risk that is there to Americans, to green card holders. This family had an American citizen and a green card holder. There is obviously risk, and I hope that the president, and expect that the president, will articulate what our troops will do to aid Americans getting to the airport, because that is as dangerous as actually leaving Kabul itself.
So what does that tell you if not only those Taliban members that are on the ground, but the Taliban leadership is allowing the beating of a U.S. citizen? What is that telling you?
Well, it's obviously outrageous, but the question is, how much does the Taliban have control over the people on the ground? My guess is that The Taliban leadership is one thing and the commitments they are making, but then there's actually enforcing that in a place of chaos. And that's why what is critical is the American troops have to be protecting people and I think escorting people to the airport. Right now, we have to look. I've been for withdrawal, but I am not for withdrawal leaving Americans behind. And our troops are extraordinary. They are up to the challenge of evacuating Americans and our allies. And we have to stay there until we do that. And I have confidence in our troops' ability to do that.
Okay. Let me ask you, while I've got you here, a little bit of political news as we have the 9 Democratic House moderates relative to infrastructure. They're threatening to withhold their support for the budget resolution. They're demanding that it be separated from the $1.2 trillion bipartisan package. They want to vote on that right now. What is your response to this, and how do you see this playing out this week when the House tries to pass the budget resolution? Do you think it will pass?
I do, Alex, but I do not understand what these 9 members are up to. I mean, they are obstructing this president's agenda. This would be a slap in the face to the president to vote no on just moving forward with the negotiation. Look, everyone has to compromise in Congress. I want Medicare for all. That's not in the bill. I want free public college. That's not in the bill. I want student loan forgiveness for working families. That's not in the bill. Guess what? You know whose bill it is? President Joe Biden. Last I understood, he won election as president. The Democratic Party needs to unify around his agenda to help people. And anyone who votes no on this is sabotaging Joe Biden and sabotaging the Democratic Party's agenda.
What